So I'm over here waiting for one more card to drop so I can get the video in Saturday night. And they hit us with 14 cards out of nowhere. I wasn't expecting that. Amateur appraisal, let's get into them. Voyage to the Sunken City. Started off, we got Hunter. Twin Bow Terror Coil. 4 mana 4/4. If you've cast a spell while holding this, your next spell casts twice. So, continuing with the Naga mechanic of triggering effects when it's in your hand and you play a spell. So you play one spell, you play this, you play a burn spell, boom, burn twice. And this ties directly into the new Hunter legendary. Raz Nishan, 2 mana 2/3 Naga. After you cast a spell, deal damage equal to its cost to the enemy hero. So this can snowball really fast into a whole bunch of damage. And this currently ties in with the Hunter quest, Defend the Dwarven District. Now to explain to the people that don't know what quests are, it's a card you play on the first turn of the game. You don't need to, but you normally do. And when you fulfill the requirement, you receive a very good reward. So this is a quest line where there's 3 different steps to it. I only have the first step here. So hero power is something every class has. You deal 2 damage to 2 spells. Hero power can target minions. It usually, for Hunter, only shoots 2 damage to face. Fulfill the quest line, I think, with 2 or 3 spells again, and that hero power costs 0. And then the quest, do that again, and the quest reward is, so your 0 mana hero power resets every time you use a spell, and you can usually only use it once per turn. So you can use this multiple times per turn, and every spell you use can get increased damage with Raz Nishan. So it can just snowball really quickly, or just even when you're fulfilling the quest, boom, a little bit of burst. So Defend the Dwarven District is going wild with the added amount of burn spells that aren't available in standard. This was a meta warping card, had to get nerfed, and it's even nerfed. It's now again the best deck in the format tier 1, just not the odd variant which the hero power dealt 3 instead of 2 damage. But I don't think this will be like as insane as some people think it will be. I think it'll be very good in those decks, but it's hard to cut out a card in that deck for something else, so you gotta figure out what to cut. I think it'll be strong, but not like insanely strong. Maybe it won't have a nerf for the quest. Fingers crossed. I hate that deck. So now we have Demon Hunter, 1 mana Fell spell, multi-strike. So give your hero +2 attack this turn. They may attack an additional enemy minion. So basically, you get +2 attack, and you can attack 2 different minions. An additional enemy minion, you can attack face and then attack a minion. So, if you have a big lifesteal weapon built up with a lot of attack, you can get a lot of healing off this. Or you can hit a taunt and then hit face. So, decently strong card. Not like insane or meta warping, but I think it'll be a decent include in Fell decks or just regular Demon Hunter decks. So for Druid, we have Flipper Friends. Summon a 6/6 Orc with Taunt, or 6 1/1 Otters with Rush. So another decently sized spell for Druid. Nature spell. The 6/6 Orca and the 1/1 Otters are all beasts. I didn't include it in the video, but there's a Druid card which separates choose 1 spells into 2 different cards, so you can get both effects. Decent card. They're all beasts, so they beast token decks, beast synergy. Big taunt in case your aggro is spitting you down, or rush to kill something that's threatening. We'll just see what other kind of token support Druid gets, because like you're not getting like the biggest minion when you play this, and then the Druid's legendary with the spell support. So we'll just see. So Mage, another arcane. Mages love their arcane draw spells. 2 mana, Gifts of Ashara. Draw a card. If you played a Naga while holding this, do it again. So this has the potential 2 mana draw you 2 cards. That is so good. We'll have to see how good the Naga support is for this to see how good it is. I think if the Naga support is even just decent, then and it can be included in a lot of decks, that this could be playable. So we'll have to see. Draw cards like this are always dependent on the support that supplies the draw. But I mean, draw and mage is always somehow going to end up broken. So I could see this being very good. So here is the support for Mech Mage that we've been wanting to see, and I think this is a really good card. 3 mana 4/3, so I think good stats for the cost. Mecha Shark. After you summon a mech, deal 3 damage randomly, split among all enemies. It is also a mech. I don't think this counts itself, but you drop this, you drop a couple mechs. It's kind of hard. It depends on the class and how hard it is to remove that turn. But this on curve into like a mech or 2 on turn 4 is a lot of damage. And I think this will be, hopefully, this is another card dependent on the other mech support this will get, and we're very early on in the card reveals. But you drop the Colossal, I think that's counting the appendages also, which is really good. So I think this is a card to look onto. I absolutely love the art. So Paladin, 2 mana 2/2, Seafloor Savior. Dredge, if it's a minion, give this minion's attack and health. So on curve, on turn 1, I see this as a good play. Buff up a really cheap minion. And this works really well in hand buff decks. So you play cards that buff the minion in your hands before you play them. And then boom, you dredge this. Let's say like later in the game this 2/2 turns into like an 8/8. And then you dredge something at the bottom of your deck. Boom, 10/10. And it could be a 1 mana charge bull, which is you can hit the enemy face straight away. So for 3 mana in a turn, that's a 10/10 straight to face. This looks really good in hand buff, especially in wild and Reno hand buff decks, and a way to look for your big finishers. So I really like this card, and it's a mech. So more big spells. Immortalized in Stone for Paladin. Summon a 1/2, 2/4, and 4/8 Sea Guardian with Taunt. Elemental. I think the idea of this card that they're looking for is to play it, and then you have your buff spells you play on this. Big taunts with big buffs, especially if you play the legendary that shares the holy buffs because it's a holy spell. So if you find ways to reduce this, I think it'll be even better. But we'll have to see. Speaking of buff spells that can get reduced, the Garden's Grace. Beautiful art. 10 mana Paladin holy spell. Giving minion +5/+5 in Divine Shield. Costs 1 less for each mana you spent on holy spells this game. So you can get this for 0. So in a turn, you can summon the 4/8 Guardian with Taunt and buff it for 0 with +5/+5 in Divine Shield. And if you spend in this really cheap with the legendary that spreads your holy spells, that's a +5/+5 Divine Shield on 2 minions for 0 mana. That is insane. So I think if the holy spells start being really good, maybe there's a way to reduce the other ones. It could turn into a really strong deck. I think this is a card to look out for. Very good, very good. So, Priest, 3 mana spell, Switcheroo. Draw 2 minions, swap their stats. Now, this may just look like the usual meme card Priest gets. All I'm saying is this is possible. So, you know, just look out for the highlights. So we have our next Colossal minion for Priest. 8 mana, +1, 8/10 lifesteal. Behemoth's Lure. At the end of your turn, force a random enemy minion to attack the behemoth. So I think this is really good to clear a bunch of big minions. Oh, my voice. I'm sorry. This is good to drop on curve. Boom. Hopefully he doesn't hit a poison minion. But I don't think this is the strongest Colossal. It might be the least strongest compared to something like Warlock, maybe. I think this is stronger than people think it is, though. I love the art. These Colossal minis are so sick. But this is, of course, referencing an old raid boss and WoW in this area. But dropping the lure with this every time is so good. Issue is they're both beasts, so you could drop them to Zoth and get just the lure instead of the Behemoth, which is a really bad low roll. So we'll have to see how this works in Wild. Like, I don't know if Big Priest will want to play this, but it's very cool. Maybe they will. So next card, Rogue. After your hero attacks, draw a pirate. 2 mana, 3 mana, 2/5. So we might be getting a lot more pirate support for Rogue, which is something we haven't gotten since Captain Hooktusk. Back in, I think she was Rasticon's Rumble, but she might be. I think she's been hinted to make a reappearance in this expansion, so maybe we'll see her as a Rogue card. But you know, card draw is always good, especially if you're tutoring specific minions. This is probably one of my favorite arts of the expansion, besides the Colossal minions. It's just very sick design. I think this is a decent drop on curve, and it's beefy. Pretty hard to remove that turn, so this is going to be very dependent on the pirate support it gets. So we're finally getting Shaman cards. Scalding Geyser, deal 2 damage. Dredge. So 1 mana, super cheap, burn spell, hits minions, hits face. Powered by spell damage. I think this is going to be really an auto include in the Spirit of the Frog decks in Wild. Still for 1 turn, whenever you cast a spell, draw a spell from your deck that costs 1 more. So, how this deck works in Wild, you have a weapon, you swing and it gives you spell damage that turn above your spells. And then you can have other spell damages, or in a Drekthar deck, you drop that and then you drop Spirit of the Frog. So you play like 0 mana spells, it'll draw you 1 mana spell. 2 mana spells draw you 3. And so Overloaded is a big Shaman mechanic where it fronts you mana cost for the next turn for a card you play this turn. So let's say they're like stronger than usual cards for that cost. So let's say you play 2 mana card with Overload, 2 mana, 2 Overload on turn 2. The next turn, you can only play a 1 mana card because you can't use 2 of those overloaded mana crystals, and then they refresh at the end of their turn. Overdraft unlocks those crystals for immediate use the turn that they're overloaded and deals damage dependent on how much mana crystals you have overdrafted or overloaded. So the idea is you play a bunch of burn spells that are overloaded, and the next turn you drop this for big damage as a finisher, or to enable those mana crystals for another 10 burst spells. And I think Scalding Geyser as like an auto include, so you can look for those overdrafts at the bottom of your deck, or set up your next draw to keep the cycle going. So I think this will be super good. So next Shaman spell. At the end of your turn, add a 1/1 Piranha Swarmer to your hand. 3 mana, 2/5 Murloc. Shaman's been getting more Murloc cards lately. It's always an archetype, an aggro deck that can be scary with the right support. And Wild, it's like almost always almost there. So Piranha Swarmer, just a jump, is the card that one gives you. 1 mana, 1/1 Rush. After you summon a Piranha Swarmer, gain +1 attack. And so Piranha Swarmer is its own collectible card. I think the other Piranha Swarmer generators that we're gonna get is dependent on how good these are, because these aren't like lackeys, which were 1 mana 1/1s with insane effects that were not collectible cards and can only be generated. That are Piranha Swarmer is not that level. It also comes in different colors, which is sweet. I want a purple one, but I think it's going to be dependent, because like if this had charge, then maybe, but this just scales the next Piranha Swarmers over and over. Well, it scales with more Piranha Swarmers, so we'll have to see. I think it's an interesting concept. I don't know if it'll be that good. It's going to depend on the other Piranha Swarm regenerators to see if this could be an archetype or even usable in decks. So, Warrior, 7 mana 5/6, Black Scale Brute. Taunt Battlecry. If you have a weapon equipped, summon a 5/6 Naga with Rush, and it's a Naga itself. I think the value on this card is insane. You get a big taunt, and a big, beefy, strong 5/6 with Rush. It's just two 5/6s. I mean, it's a 10/12 for 7 mana. All you have to do is have a weapon, which is super easy. I think this card is insane. I think this will be really good in an auto-include in control decks or mid-range decks, kind of. I think this is really good. I'm interested to see what other Warrior cards we get, because I think this is a really good sign. It's very cool art. So, neutral cards. Crush Claw Enforcer. 3 mana 3/4. Battlecry. If you've cast a spell holding this, draw a Naga. It's just tutored card draw for Nagas. This will depend on how good Naga decks are. But this will be an auto-include if they're even kind of decent enough to support an archetype. Baba Naga. 4 mana 4/4. If you cast a spell while holding this, deal 3 damage. So, on turn 4, on curve, this is a nice ping with a decent body. I like this card. I think this just helps make Naga decks better. Removal, face, and a minion with good stats with the 4/4. So, I think this would be a decent card. 4 mana 3/6 Battlecry Dredge, reduce its cost by 1. It's just a tutor spell and reduce mana cost. 4 stuff that you're looking for are those cards you send to the bottom of your deck. It looks like Vander Decken for One Piece. That's the first thing I thought of when I saw this card. He's got the bubble to help him breathe. This is an orc though, unlike a fishman. But this will depend on how strong these cards are that send the cards to the bottom of your deck. I think this will be good if you're just going for a specific colossal value deck, like an Envoy Westwood's deck, which would be fun. That wasn't the best deck, but it was fun. So, we'll have to see. 2 mana Amalgam of the Deep, 2/3. It has the tag all, so amalgams are every minion type and work with all of the synergies. Choose a friendly minion, discover a minion of the same minion type. So, disclaimer, this doesn't work on other amalgams. With the all tag, you can't just have an endless cycle of amalgams discovering each other. It'll randomly pick a tag from its all minion tag. So, it can randomly pick Pirate, Beast, Totem. But I think this is good. I think this card is going to be really good. It's support for every kind of archetype. Murlocs, Nagas, everything. Awesome art. It's my favorite amalgam card yet. I think this is a really good card. And so, yeah, those are all the cards. Saturday and Sunday. Hopefully this week brings a way more cooler colossal minions. And yeah. See you next time.